Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will describe to you a wonderful bag work with a motif that I prepared with a clerk, the model of which belongs to a famous brand. I want to show you our bag closely. Look, it is a very beautiful model. We will prepare such motifs. I want to show the side bellows and the base. I worked exactly the same as the original. It is a useful bag with a very deep interior. If you want, you can enlarge the size and use it as a beach bag, but it is a very stylish and beautiful piece for daily use. It is incredibly easy and enjoyable to make. Look, let me show you the other part with the same motif on this side. I shared all the details with you in the video. You can find the step-by-step measurements of our bag and how much rope I used in the video. I hope it will be a useful content. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. You can subscribe to our channel for free. I would be really happy if you like the video and leave your comments. Let's move on to our recipe. I used paper string for my bag. I bought my paper thread in skeins by the kilo. After turning it directly into silver without softening, I prepared my bag by knitting it in a single layer. I used approximately 400-500 grams of paper rope for my bag. Now we will prepare a total of 18 motifs here. Look, here we start our bag by knitting our square motifs. I have one last motif left here. I will knit this together with you. Look, I want to show you the thickness of my rope. Its texture is like this. I will use crochet hook in my 3 millimeters. Paper thread in action. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your yarn, the density and looseness of your knitting. We first start with the magic ring. If there are beginners among us, I have previously shared a detailed video on how to make a magic ring. I will add the link to the description of our video. You can reach it by clicking there. Look, we created our magic ring in this way. While creating the magic ring, we prepare a chain. Here we sink into the ring. We took out a loop. We have 2 loops. We wrapped them. We knit a single needle by passing them through both. We are sinking again in the ring. We remove the stitch. We are knitting single needle. Now we are preparing our first point by knitting our single needle. 12 in total. We have knitted 12 single needle in total. Now I am stretching my stitch here. Look, here I will pull the rope that is shorter than the magic ring to the point where I can pull it in a controlled manner. If you pull it suddenly, it is on the paper rope. There are breaks. Paying attention to this, now I pull my short paper thread from the magic ring in a controlled manner. That's enough. Now look, we are sinking into the top of the first single needle we knitted. Since I wanted to knit by hiding the short thread, I put it on the crochet hook. We finish our row by removing the stitch from this point and slipping it from the other stitch. Now at this point. 1, 2. We draw 3 chains. We will consider these 3 chains we have drawn as a handrail. By wrapping it around the head of our hook, look at the same single needle space. That is, we insert the top of the first single needle again and remove the stitch from here. We have 3 loops because we wrapped them. We went around again. We circled the 2 together again. We created a double handrail by knitting the 2 together. With the 3 chains, there are 2 handrail points in the same space. So we are double bankrupt. We are filling up. We remove the stitch by inserting it into the top of the next single crochet. We knit double handrail again. We walked around both of them together. We come to the same gap and knit the second double handrail. In this way, there will be 12 sinking points in total. We knit 2 handrails for each and proceed in this way until the end of the row. We have come to the end of our turn. In total, we had 12 double handrail points. That is, we knitted 2 in the same hole. Now look here, after knitting the last handrail point, we do not touch the chain part at all. We sink into the top of the first handrail we knit, remove the loop and slide it from the other stitch. Then we sink into the wide gap next to the banister. With the next handrail, look, we sink into the wide gap between the 2 of the handrails on top of which we sink, and take out a loop and slide it from the other loop. At this point we chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Look again by wrapping it around the head of our hook, coming to the same slot and removing the stitch. We now have 3 stitches. We knit the first one alone. We got around. We circled the 2 together again. We made a triple handrail by knitting the 2 together. Since we will now turn the round motif into a square, we knitted our triple banister here. At this point, all 4 chain sections represent 1 handrail. We are filling up. Now look, we are knitting 2 handrails and we are jumping into the same hole. We are sinking into the wide interstitial space. Look, we are sinking into the wide gap between the next railing. We're not sinking into headspace. At this point, we sink into the wide gap, remove the loop and knit a double handrail. We walked around both of them together. We come to the same gap and knit the second double handrail. Look, we went around again. Look at the 2. Again, we are skipping the handrail that we have sunk into the same hole. We are knitting 2 double handrails by sinking into the wide gap. We fill the same gap with a second double handrail. Look at the next gap. We will always work on the wide gaps. We are jumping 2 handrails by sinking into the wide gap. Now we will knit a triple handrail, as we will create the corner point. First intake both together. Both together. We went around again. Another triple handrail coming to the same slot. First one. Both together. Both together. Since it is a corner, we fill it with 2 chains. We come back to the same slot and knit 2 triple handrails. We went around the first triple banister. We knitted our second triple handrail in the same slot and created our corner point this way. We are filling up. Look, we are sinking into the wide gap by jumping over 2 handrails that are in the same hole. We knit 2 double handrails, 1, 2. We got around. We skip 2 handrails again and come to the wide gap and knit 2 more double handrails. There are 2 handrail points in between and a triple handrail section at the corners. We are filling up. Now look, we repeat the exact process we did here. Let's knit 2 triple handrails quickly. We fill in 2 chains. We come to the same slot and knit 2 triple handrail points. Look, we created the second corner in this way. Now, as we have described to you here, we proceed to the end of the row. We will share with you immediately how we finish the end of the row and start the new row. We have come to the end. Look, we knitted 2 knitted handrail groups. Now we come to the point where we first started. At the point where we first started, we had 4 chains and 1 triple handrail point. We are filling up. Now look, there are no chains between them. We only have 2 chains in the corners. We are filling up. We create 2 triple handrail points by sinking into the same slot where we first started, sinking into the wide gap. We knit 2 of them at the beginning. We knit 2 triple handrail groups when finishing. The row is completed. Now we have a gap of 2 chains here. We fill it 2. We sink right to the top of the 4th chain at the beginning. We wrapped it. Look, we have 3 loops. I fill it. I collect 3 of them at once with a single handrail here. This is also called double crochet. I get the gap of 2 chains. Look, I got a gap of 2 chains with a single handrail. Now at this point I go up by chaining 1, 2, 3. Look, I'm coming to the corner space I created here. I remove the stitch and knit a double handrail. We will accept these 3 chains as 1 handrail. I'm filling up. Now our job is easier. Look. I skip the point where I knitted 2 handrails and come to the wide gap and knit 2 double handrails. In the meantime, we will only knit double handrail. Just look here. If we count the single crochet, we knitted a triple crochet in the 3rd row to create these corners. Now, in our 4th last row, we will only knit double handrail. Now look, I'm filling the wide gap with 1 handrail and the second handrail coming into the same slot. Come to the wide gap again and look. I jump 2 handrails. I jump into the wide gap. I knit 2 double handrails. I circle them again. I jump to the 2 handrail points and come to the wide gap. I knit 2 double handrails. I wrap them once or twice, skipping 2 handrails again. Now I come to the 2 chain gap and knit 2 double handrails. I wrap them once. The second double handrail is in the same space. Now, since it is a corner, I pull my 2 chains. Look, there is no chain in between. We only use the chain in the corner. We went around it again and came to the same slot again and created our corner by knitting 2 double handrails. We created the corner in this way. We fill it up again by jumping 2 handrails and sinking into the wide gap. We knit like this, and we will come to the end of the row as we have described to you. We will do the final finish together right away. We've reached the end and we're filling up. Look, where we finish with the single handrail here, we come to the corner space where the chain we first started with is, and we weave 2 lock handrails. After knitting 2 double crochets, we pull our 2 chains again. Since it is the finishing row, I sink to the top of the first railing without touching the 3 chains, remove the loop and slide it from the other loop. After this shift, I immediately cut my rope a little and remove it from my loop. I sink my hook again to the point where I dropped and take my thread to the back. At this point, I will immediately fix my rope like this. Paper rope is not like cotton rope because it looks like a mold. Here, look. By removing the loop and tightening it with a chain, the shifting point here creates the head space of the chain. This is the space that will come in handy when combining motifs. It is also worth mentioning this. Look, we completed our motif with 2 chains. The finished size of our motif is 9.5 centimeters. The measurement is 9.5 centimeters. Even if we use the same yarn and the same crochet number, your measurement from the measurements I gave may be a little less, maybe a little more. This will change due to our knitting tightness and looseness. It is also worth noting that if the paper you used is thick, the measurement may be larger. If it is thin, it may be less. You can also work on this model not only on paper, but also on different box threads. You can easily work this model with raffia threads, macrame threads, and any strings you want. Now look, we have finished our motif. I will do hand ironing like this. You can also steam iron this if you want, but it will be better if you iron it after you put it together last. Look, there are 9 motifs in total for the front and 9 motifs for the back. We will use 18 motifs in total. We will move on to combining our motifs. It's also pretty easy to put together. How many frequent needles do I make just to avoid these contractions? It would be beneficial for you to follow this. Now let's move on to assembly. I'm getting my rope again. I immediately create a loop with a chain. Then look, I close the reverse sides of the 2 motifs here, facing each other, with the wrong parts facing each other. I immediately sink mutually through the space of 2 chains. Look, I have a stitch directly here, sinking mutually into the space of 2 chains. I come and take out the stitch and knit single needle. After knitting 2 single needles in the 2 chain space, look at the motif in the front. Look, the next handrail is sinking to the top of the gap. Look, I'm sinking in the same place in the opposite motif. I sank into the top of the banister. I remove stitches and knit single crochet. I sink to the top of the next railing. In the opposite motif, I knit a single crochet stitch by sinking into the top of the banister in the same way. Now, in this way, there is no chain between each handrail, because I will connect the top of each handrail with the single needle technique by inserting mutual motifs. Until I reach the 2 chain space here, I will knit 2 single crochets when I reach the 2 chain space. Look, I will combine this motif like this. Then I will show you how I combine these other 2. Here, I knitted 2 single crochets in a 2 chain space. Look, I combined the 2 motifs this way. Now I will combine the 2 motifs here. That's why I closed this with the wrong parts facing each other. Look here, after knitting 2 single crochets, I make a chain to prevent it from tightening. I always make a chain before combining the other motif. Then look at the motif I closed here. The reverse parts are facing each other. We combine it from the straight part. Look at the 2 chains. They sink into the same space of the 2 motifs here. The process is exactly the same as what I did here. I start with 2 single crochets. I knit 2 single crochets in the space of 2 chains. Then look at the motif opposite to the top of the banister that comes next. I immediately sink to the top of the banister. I take out a stitch and knit a single needle. Then the motif against the next railing says that I knit single needles by dipping opposite to the banister. Look, there is no chain between the motifs. Only the handrails are formed. There are only 2 chains in the corners. Now here I knit single needles on the banisters. We knit together by knitting, so that it doesn't get tight. We have a chain at the moment. We knit 2 single crochets in the corners. Now we have combined it like this. We will do the same process we did here in the other part. Then after knitting 2 single crochets here, we will pull a chain and break our thread here. Then we will come to the motif here. Look, I will close it here in the same way as I did with the 2 motifs here. This time I will combine my motifs by repeating the same process as I did here with the 3 exposed motifs of the triple motif here. Then think about it like this. We joined it in a long way towards the neck. Then we will join 2 points horizontally. We will join the horizontal join in the same way on the other sides in this corner. But there is a trick at this intersection point where 4 motifs intersect. I will show you in detail how I put this together. Here we put it together as we have described to you, and after knitting my last 2 single needles, we cut the yarn sufficiently and remove it directly from our stitch. Look, we finished here by knitting 2 single crochets into the space of 2 chains with the last 2 single crochets. I recommend finishing with a chain, then we will combine these short strings. Now we took our rope again and joined it lengthwise. Now we will join it horizontally. Here I create a loop with the chain in the same way. This time, look, I am closing this point as I will combine the currently open parts. I start the 2 chain space on the other side in the same way as I have described to you. We start with 2 single crochets. We will combine the banisters. Let's combine them until we reach this intersection point. Let's share with you what we do here. After the last banister here is sunk opposite each other, look, I'm doubling it like this. I am now knitting 1 single crochet into the 2 chain space using the same motif, reciprocating each other, chained into the void. Look, we are only knitting 1. Then I pull a chain. These chains are not very tight chains. Look, by skipping this intersection point, I now come to the 2 chain space where the other 2 motifs are located. I knit a single crochet into this gap, removing the stitches by reciprocally dipping. Meanwhile, while joining, make a single crochet into the chain space. There is a chain in between. Then move on to the other motif and make 1 single crochet. Then I immediately start knitting single needles again by sinking into the next railing point. We continue and we combine our mutual motifs. If I show you, it looks like this. Now look at the other points in the same way as I have described to you here. Now I'm going to combine it here. I'm going to break my thread. I will connect it from here again and do my merging. But I won't give up on this part. What are we doing here? We will knit a row of frame single crochet. How do we knit this? Let's share it with you right away. We combine these types. Look, we are not breaking the thread at the last point here, and we will continue knitting. We will make a frame by knitting a row of single crochet stitches. Look here, we knitted our last 2 single needles into the space of 2 chains. Now at this point we draw a chain like this. Look again, we are knitting 1 single crochet in the chain space of the motif here, coming to the corner space. Then we knit a single needle by sinking into the top of each handrail. We will knit 1 single crochet at the top of each handrail. When we come to the corner point, we will knit 3 single crochets at the corner point. Look, 3 single crochets in the 2 chain space, then 3 single crochets on the top of each handrail. If the single crochet is here, look at the corner of the motif here, 1 single crochet in the 2 chain space, then look, this single crochet point we combined is the one we knitted last. Look, we will knit a single needle at the top of the single needle that we have made a lock with a chain by sinking into the wide gap. Then we will knit a single needle into the 2 chain gap of the motif here. Then the same process will continue. Squeeze the banisters. When we come to the corner, 1 single needle, 1 single crochet into the space of 2 chains. Then we will knit this single needle by inserting it into the top of the last single needle we knitted, and look, without making any connection, we will insert it directly into the top of the needle, whichever direction it is facing, and knit our single needle. Then make 1 single crochet into the 2 chain space of the other motif. Squeeze the banisters. When we come to the corner, look, since it is clear winter, we will complete this corner by knitting 3 single needles in the 2 chain space and thus create a frame. After creating this frame, I will iron it. To show the difference, I want to show you the piece I ironed before. Look, we will knit and prepare it this way. We will knit 1 row of single crochet. Look, like here, I turned it upside down. Look at it this way, I turned it upside down. Finally, let's clean up the short ropes. Let's do a good job. We will iron our knitting in reverse. We will open it a little bit and flatten it with our hands. Look, it looks quite beautiful. Never be afraid to iron the paper rope. I steam ironed it. In fact, I have previously shown in my videos how I iron the bags that I worked with paper thread. On the contrary, I give direct steam like I would iron anything classic. There is no problem. If you are hesitant, you can try ironing it in a small piece, that is with a single motif. Maybe it may differ from iron to iron. If you think that your iron will damage the piece you knit, you can turn your knitting inside out, cover it with a towel or a cloth, and then iron it. Or you can also steam remotely. It can be done both ways. Now this is the last one. Lastly, we will knit the side gaiter of the two pieces that I will complete, and then move on to joining them. Look here. I want to show you the ending. Look, this is where we last started. After knitting a single crochet in the last two chain spaces, we would knit a single crochet at the single crochet point here. But in this part, we cut our rope a little bit and remove it directly from our loop. There was a point here where we pulled a chain. Just look at the single needle we inserted into the two chain space in the other motif. We insert this thread from the back to the front in the top space. Then, we will sink into the back cut line and single channel of the last single needle we knitted, pass our thread through here and hide it at the back. Look, when we do it like this, it looks completely different. Then we will come to this point and do our merging again. If it does not come to the mouth part and falls on the side bellows, it will be the same as the other parts. Then I take this rope right at the back. I immediately fix it with a chain and hide my rope by passing it through suitable gaps, as in other points. Look at this ending. It looks completely different. I wanted to share it in detail. Afterwards, we will prepare the bellows. Look, I want to describe in detail how I did it here. In fact, I share this with you in all my bags. We will knit only single crochet on the chain, but for those who do not know how to knit, it is useful to show it in the video for those who do this kind of work for the first time. Now here, I created my gaiter by making 8 single crochets in total. What are we doing here? After locking the first chain with the chain, I made 8 crochets here. I didn't want it to be 50 feet deep. If you want it to be deeper, you can make it bigger in your bag. I want to give you the dimensions right away. The width of our bellows is 5 centimeters. I would like to give you the measurement of the piece I used as an example after assembling it. 29 centimeters. 29 by 29 centimeters. In this way, we have obtained a square piece and we are preparing our bellows. Now we pulled our chain. You can draw as many chains as you want. I prepared it by knitting 8 single crochet stitches on 9 chains. Now, since I will explain a small part, we drew 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. I'm not counting the lock chain. I'm turning my knitting. I leave the last chain I knitted and sink into the back cut line of the next chain. When I do this, the ear will appear as a spike at the beginning. I immediately sink into the back cut line, remove the stitch and knit single crochet. If you think I'm knitting too fast at this stage, you can slow down the video or, on the contrary, watch it by speeding it up. SC again, inserting into the next chain. Lastly, we knit single crochet by sinking into the back cut line of the chain. It looks like this. We lighten our stitch and turn our knitting without pulling the chain on the turns. We knit single needles by sinking into the first space that comes up. We started with 1, 3 single needles, 2 and 3. See 3 single needles. We stretch our stitch and turn it again. We knit 3 single needles again, 1, 2 to the last point, 3 this. You can extend your hand as much as you want. It's such an easy example to make, just with single crochet. I worked on this for a long time by eyeballing it. Lastly, look, I didn't lose my grip here. From where? Here, for example, if it is too much, I will remove the bellows that I have cut and knitted. I didn't cut my thread here to knit if it was missing. When I start to combine, look, I will combine from the point where I first started. I want to show it to you right away. I got my rope again. Here I immediately create a loop with a chain. Look, I'm taking my bellows with the flat part facing out. Let's say my motif is like this. Let those single needles point downwards. I'll start assembling from this corner. Look right here. We had 3 single needles. 1, 2. I'm going to start by going down from the third one, the first of the 3. I'm sinking directly. Then look here, I'm pricking at the single needle point mutually. Let me take my thread to this side. Look, I'm inserting it into my needle, then I'm inserting it into my gaiter. You can also hide these threads if you want. If you want, I'll take out the stitch from here and knit a single crochet directly. Let's take the threads inside. I'm inserting it in the next single crochet point, then I'm inserting it into the appropriate space in my gaiter, and I'm knitting single crochet again. If you want, look, straight from here. You can knit from the section with a tight needle, or starting from the point where the bellows are located. So you can combine it starting from this point. Whichever you like. It can be worked both ways. I'm sinking into the tight needle point. Now let's get the ropes inside. I sink into the bellows part. I remove the stitch and knit a tight needle. So it's exactly the same logic as I combined the two motifs. I will assemble my bellows properly. And in the corner if you're right here, unless you sink one in each, if it's right around the corner. Look at this triple point. If you want, make 3 cuts in this part, in this section if you want. Or there may be 2. You do this with your turn properly, to the same point. Look, here you go down one by one. In this part, you can sink 2 sinks in the same spot, or vice versa. Now we will place our bellows like this. After placing this piece, we will complete our bag by joining the other piece and the other motif dot to the back. We placed our side bellows in our bag. We didn't cut our ties after that. We completed it by knitting the entire hem with single crochet in 2 rows. We knitted the mouth part in 2 rows. As in the original, I completed the numbers that way. Then look, I made one of my handles. We prepared our handle as a braid. Now I want to tell you how I made this handle. Here I cut and prepared 3 pieces of rope, each rope in 5 layers. I adjusted this rope to approximately 1 meter, 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, etc. Now look at my second piece. I separate them like this so that you can knit them easily. It consists of 5 floors. If your rope is thin, you can make it more than 5 times. If it remains, you can determine the number yourself. See here 3. I take my rope like this. I adjusted my 5 layers of rope consisting of 3 pieces. See 3 pieces. Now I am bringing these together into a hole. I separate it like this without mixing. Look, I'm making a connection right here. In order to knit comfortably, I will immediately make a knot like this. If there is any excess rope, we can easily remove it at the beginning and at the end. Approximately 60 centimeters of handle will be enough. If you want it to be longer, this is not 1 meter and 20 centimeters, you can leave more of your rope. It is also worth mentioning that you can also leave the remaining rope as follows. I'm pulling it right away with the help of a crochet hook. Look, I knotted my thread roughly like this. Now I'm separating my thread here again. It's 5 layers. Look, I'll check it. Yes, I separated it 5 by 5. We're doing a classic braid. I'm starting to knit right away. You can fix it one by one, but since the paper looks like a mold, there's no distortion, etc. I'm knitting it a little bit like this, classically. Look at the braid here. I want to show it like this, as if it's starting to blend. Look, there's a pile up right here. When you pull one of the ropes, the other one opens immediately. Look, this chaos is disappearing. Now I will complete my handle by braiding it. Then I will tie the end of the other part and cut off any excess thread I have. After preparing my handle in this way, I move on to assembling my bag. This is how we completed our bag. I hope you like it and try it too. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.